You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Ilona with Yoga with Ilona Vianca. I'm also the host of this podcast, actually. Yes. So depending where you're seeing or hearing this on, we're going to go ahead and get started today. So again, this is my podcast, Actually Yes. Basically a podcast that helps you and I grow as a person in a holistic way to change our mind state from, I'm not sure, I don't know, maybe, to actually yes. So today on my podcast, I have Steph Goldman here. So hi. So she has been an educator for 14 plus years, starting from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade and even beyond that too as well in her adulthood. So she's very knowledgeable in very many areas too. She's a licensed, like as we talked about, a licensed educator for 14 plus years. She has her 500 RYT. She's certified Metaphysical Healer and recognized on their board, and a Reiki Master Instructor as well. She also has been accredited with the American Council and Holistic Healers too. So she's pretty rocking basically. She is a survivor of MST, domestic violence, and an alcoholic husband. She served in the Army, and that's actually where we met. Although I wasn't in the Army, we were doing a yoga teacher training together online you were able to do it virtually. And I remember she was in one of the groups that we came to. It was like splitting up the groups, and she had popped on there. And so we were doing a small group. She had vanished off the screen for a moment, and me and the other girl were like, where did she go? And I just remember her popping back on. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Because she was deployed at that moment. She was in her bunker and everything, and something had gone off or whatever the case may be. And then I was just like, oh, and she was just like, okay, I'm back. And I was like, what? This is so insane. Like, how cool is this? This chick is, overseas or wherever she's at, and she is still trying to just better herself with yoga and everything and helping people around her. So that's just a little blurb of that. This little side note that how we had met. She is happily married now. She has 3 fur babies and working on her second house and truly living her best life as I've seen on Instagram. And with me just talking to her in person, I can see where she's glowing from. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. Today's topic we are going to talk about is her and her spiritual relationship as a coach on her journey and how she works that into her business now. So hello again. I'm so excited you are on this podcast. We've been trying to get this going for some time now, and we finally, especially on my end, have got it together to work. So this is going to be good stuff. I'm very excited. So with that,
thank you. Thank you for having me. I listen to your podcast all the time, like we discussed.
Thank you so much.
And I'm just thrilled to be here. I can remember listening one time. I don't know if you remember, Ilona, whenever I said, that's me. She's talking about me.
Yes. I always when I talk about people, obviously I don't give names or anything like that. And I'm just they touched my heart in some way. And I just wanted to put it through my podcast. Hopefully sometime in their lifetimes, they'll hear this podcast and know that I am talking about them in a good way, as you did. And so I was very excited when you were like, I'm pretty sure you were talking about me. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I was talking about you. Don't be mad, but yes, I was.
Complete fangirling. I was fangirling.
No, I love it because I am the same way. I'm just oh my gosh, this is so cool. Okay, so we'll dive into it now. So basically, what would you say is a spiritual coach for those who are just I'm not really sure what that means?
Well, so I call myself a spiritual relationship coach. And what I do is I help single trusting women who fall in love easily create strong boundaries so that they can attract relationships that are aligned with their goals. And I believe in complete and total healing of the mind, the body, the spirit, so I use yoga, the energy work and mindset in my coaching for a holistic approach. And so what makes mine on the spiritual side is I am going to be pulling on the spiritual realm and using the energy work. It's an integral part. So if that helps to understand what that is for and about.
Yeah. So I guess if you go a little deeper, just in case people are
Sure.
Sometimes I feel honestly, what I found out just even with my yoga journey, and if I use the word spiritual, people are just freaked out by that. They're like, what do you mean spiritual? So I guess what would somebody expect in maybe a session with you, or how would you word it a little differently with the spiritual part of it?
Yes, sure. So where we have our emotions tied and our spiritual, that's kind of where I'm going to be focused on. So it's not religion. It's not teaching any religion. It doesn't deviate from religion. It doesn't, affect anyone, whether if they're a Christian, it doesn't try to change them to not be a Christian, if that kind of helps and let you know that. So on the spiritual side, it's just believing in that whether you believe in God or a higher power of the universal energy that is here and around us, and believing that you can be healed. We have an innate birthright to our own healing. And science has proved how much energy is in us. So in each cell, we have 0.07 millivolts of electricity. Okay, it doesn't sound like much, 0.07 millivolts, right? But you take that and you think about how many cells that we have in our body, you multiply it, and you come out with that our bodies contain 2.76, might be a little bit wrong, I'll get those exact numbers for you, but I know it's over 2 trillion volts of electricity. And to give you an example of what that means, like, well, how much is 2 billion trillion? How much is that? 2 trillion, right? So you use 120 volts in your house to power. And I'm telling you, you have 2.7 trillion volts. So a bolt of lightning, for instance, you're looking at anywhere from 100 to 300 billion volts. We are walking nuclear bombs. So where does this energy come from, right? Where is this universal energy? And so believing that it was universe we're created in with that energy inside of us, that takes us into our metaphysical. So it also has something to do with neuroscience, but it is mostly on that. Believing on that energy and where that energy comes from and source, and as well as intuition and along that aspect. So that's where it's going to come from when you deal with me. You're going to be getting all this energy bundled up. Helping you.
Yeah, I think that's great because sometimes, again, as I've been on my own yoga journey too as well, I get people that are just talking about the spiritual part, or they're nervous about that, or they can't practice it because of whatever beliefs and things like that. And again, that's totally fine if, that's however works with you, but I always tell people, take what you're comfortable with, or take things and leave what you don't like, or, whatever the case may be, with yoga, I do like the spiritual side too as well, because it kind of helps me balance, understand myself and things around me. But I'm also not stay away or anything like that. It just depends what I need for that day too as well. Maybe it's just, I need the asana, that the physical yoga practice, but then maybe I need something for my thoughts and stuff too, which might be more spiritual, things like that, So I think that's very important too as well on your aspect of just explaining that too as well. It's not taken away from anything. I'm not going to do some weird stuff, because, I feel like sometimes that's what I personally have found to say too as well. They're just spiritual, you're doing some weird stuff. And I'm like, no, you just got to understand it, I think. And if it's not for you, then it's not for you. Then, that's, we don't connect on that and that aspect too. So thank you for breaking that down a little bit more and just kind of saying, and it's so true, especially with the energy, you always hear people say, I just feel off when I'm around them. It's just that energy between, or, something about their demeanor that you're just it's you're, like you said, that intuition where you're just something's not right. And you're just where is that coming from? It's
Yes.
that intuition feeling and stuff. So.
Right. And that there's a link to that. A lot of times we've heard about women having a greater intuition than men, and there is science behind that, and it's proven. And I won't go into all of this, but I love it when science and spirituality come together and they form this amazing proof of, yeah, this is working, right? And so I love what you're saying. I hear you. And yes, it does scare people away thinking about spirituality, and it does get confused with religion and things like that. But it's energy. We are energy. Everything is around us, and just using what we have and what is our, I say God, so I don't want to offend anyone, but what is given to us by God. And it could be your source, your greater power, whatever you believe in you. I don't try to change anybody at all. That's not my job. In that area, my job is just to help people heal.
Yeah. No, that's so lovely to it. So I guess further going into that, then what has led you to become a spiritual relationship coach? Like what has happened in your life, I guess, where you're just like, this has had led me to point A to point B to, wherever you're at, obviously where you're at now.
Sure. Yeah. So, well, first and foremost, I do this truly, truly, truly because I believe it was my life's purpose. I can tell you that I started manifesting at the age of 8, but I didn't know what it was. Yes, I did at the age of 8. And I can remember at 11 years old doing another manifestation with my friend. And we were talking about like our bodies, and there was something in my legs. And I was like, oh, I want my leg to look a certain way. And she was like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I'm going to tell it. And she was like, that doesn't work. And I'm like, sure it does. I didn't know any different. No one had told me any differently at that time. And I believed it. And I can remember like the next day at school, she was like, how did you do that? And I was like, I told you, you just tell your body. And so over the course of time, people thought that, you get told, don't do that. Don't work on those, don't do that gift, again, I'm not understanding what spirituality was. And so kind of locked that away so I wouldn't be the different child, right? I want to fit in with everybody, and not everybody's doing this. So lock that away. And I decided to just live my truth. But how I got to that living my truth is, I started out in education. I was born to teach, born to be a nurturer. I just that's just who I am, and it doesn't separate. Definitely an empowered empath now. And over the course of my life, I can just tell you, I don't know, we can say wordy words on here, but I can just tell you, I've been to the pits of that no place and back. I came out, I'm not going to be sugarcoating that part of it. I left the raw, unfiltered version of me is right there on Instagram and Facebook. I don't hide that, what happened in my life. I didn't delete it because that's who I am. It brought me to it. I hit rock bottom and I rebuilt myself. And I know that others can do the same. I am a survivor of MST, which is military sexual trauma. That happened to me early in my military career back in the 90s. And we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have a lot of things. And when this happened, I didn't know what to do except to go take a shower because I felt dirty, right? And I felt, just I'm not going to go deep into that, right? Because then I need to go and talk to my therapist again. And she's like, you already had a session this week. And I'm just kidding. But I will tell you that not at all making light of it. Military sexual trauma is a real thing. And the Army needs to do better. The Army needs to do better to protect its female soldiers, not just in sexual harassment, but as well as in this. And I can tell you that when I did make the report, he already had time to basically have his version of the story. And I wasn't believed, and I wasn't taken seriously, and nothing was done except I was silenced. But I still had to work in the same building with him for the next 3 years. And that it was quite a mind trick right there. So definitely, I told you I was in the Army, so I have to watch this language here for you.
No, you're good. Well, yeah, thank you for serving and everything. Like you said, that's how I had stumbled upon you, on our yoga journey and everything like that. So I'm sure that has, brought in light to, to where you're at now too as well. And
yes, absolutely. So I have a love-hate relationship with the Army. There are parts of it I just absolutely love. I was in Afghanistan deployed whenever you and I met. And so yeah. And I was definitely having my spiritual awakenings happening and just wanting to be closer into yoga, meditation. All of that is so good to take your mind off. It was awesome to be on those calls with you ladies because, you were normal. Right. You you guys didn't have all the war zone happening in your backyard. And it was great to not think about it during those phone calls. And so that was really good. Yeah. So, and then like I've also survived domestic abuse, domestic violence. I was married very young, and that doesn't matter. Some people can be married young and have a great life at it. I didn't even know that I was being abused, as I shared with you before, because at that point in life, if he smacked me, I smacked him back, and I never started it. And I can just tell you, it's just like, well, I don't look like those posters. I'm not like beat up like that, you know? And so it's not happening, you know, it's not happening to me, but then guess what? It did happen. And it was bad. And I was an abused wife the very first time he laid his hands on me. I just did not understand the parameters or what it really was. And there are women out there that I share that story with, because there may be somebody else out there that doesn't know too. And it does not mean that there's something wrong with you for not knowing, right? We grow up seeing different things. We are raised seeing different things. We all have different walks in life. And the way that we perceive things happening to us are definitely our own experience. And so I like to share that to let people know that, you know, make sure if you are in that situation, get yourself a safe plan and talk to someone that you can trust. And I was so embarrassed, and there was a lot of shame, and there's a lot that you don't have to be. Don't worry about any lies or cover-ups you had to tell. Just come out. I'm sorry for that little blurb, but I just love, you know, love myself and love to help. And then after getting out of that relationship and really working on myself and bettering myself, I truly hadn't dealt with a lot of the inside emotional shadow work and limiting beliefs that I had. And I ended up marrying a really wonderful man who was a functioning alcoholic that lost his battle functioning and turned into a full-blown alcoholic. And that was a whole other type of life of hiding lies, pretending this didn't exist. He was this great person. Everybody loved him. And I tried to keep that facade up. And unfortunately, it was kind of coming to the end. And he lost his life in a one-car accident. When he chose to drink. And so I've had such pain and hurt through my life, but you know, but those things happen. They're who I am. And I wasn't always in a great place. I was lashing out. I was bitter. I've been there, you know, but one thing is that I came out, I rose above these things, and I am like not just surviving anymore. I am thriving. And that's why I work with women to help them so that they can hopefully, if they're ready and want the help, then I am always available to them and just really help them. I always let them know I am the real deal. I am authentic. And I was born to teach. I was born to educate. This is my story. I've been in the trenches with you ladies, and let me help you out of it.
Yeah, no, I love everything you said, because I feel like I've even just seen your transition. I feel like we've seen the transition of both of us, you know, from when we did our teacher yoga training and everything, and just like, how do we start and everything like that, and like to like where we're at now. And I just feel like even just that small time frame, like we've gained so much confidence, I feel like, because before we'd be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what do you think people will think? And now we're just like, I'm showing up my true self right now. Like, this is me, like whatever the case may be. And, you know, we've been on different journeys, obviously, but it's just like, you know, I've had my own healing journey as well. You've had yours, and we're still like, we're not shutting that out or anything. We're learning from that. We're trying to get comfortable with, you know, like bring it out to others too, as well. Like, you know, like, hey, you know, like I'm finally at a place where I can talk about with what has happened in my life to hopefully help others too as well. Because I was you at one point in time, and, you know, I want you to like know that there's other people out there and that you can get through it and things like that. Because like, even with what you had talked about earlier, you know, it's like domestic abuse and like things like that has hit home to me like a little too close. Not that I would ever wish it upon anybody, but, you know, it's like you always hear about it, but you don't know like where it's happening and things like that. And so when I had somebody dear to my heart come to me and finally got the courage to tell me about it, I was just like so mind blown. I'm just like, we talked to each other. Like, why didn't you feel comfortable? Or I didn't say why, because I didn't want to feel like I was attacking or anything. But I was like, you could have came to me, you could have talked to me and things like that. Or, like I'm always here for you. I would never judge you. And, it's easy to say those things, especially when you're not in that place. Cause even I've had people talk to me about, other situations. They're just like, you could have told me you were struggling. Or, I'm like, yeah, but I didn't want to have to put that burden on you. And I feel like that's sometimes what people may feel. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But I think I appreciate you saying that kind of stuff, because again, I'm not in that place to talk about, because I don't know what it's like to go through that. So coming from your mouth and your experiences, I feel like it really does reach out to women out there. And maybe even, beyond women too, as well, whoever's going through that, and just knowing that they can heal too, even
Most
if
definitely.
it's tough too. So again, I appreciate that. And, I just want people out there to be, aware of that too, as well, that, it is scary, because you don't think you want to put a label on yourself in any aspect, like that you're smarter than that's not happening to me, even if it may be happening to you. So maybe hopefully the way you worded it can reach out somebody out there. Because I know, I know that, sometimes you hear things, but until somebody says it a certain way, or that you've heard it a bajillionth time, it may not hit you until that point. So maybe, hopefully, your wording and your voice will reach to somebody and help them too. So.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, that's why to tell it. Like, I have to believe that I came out of that and was able to live, because it did get to that point where I was. He meant for me not to be on this earth anymore. And so, but I survived, and now I'm thriving. And I do want to say that, like, I can remember one of the things of not telling. So when you're talking about this family member, and I don't know her walk. I don't know anything about her. So this is just my own vibe, my own path of what happened with me, is that it had come from a divorced. My parents were divorced, right? And so, like, divorce was really talked about. I wanted so hard to hold that marriage together. I did not want divorce. Also, I mean, it's very frowned upon in society in some circles, right? I mean, it's very, and we see it too. I see it on Facebook, like and not that I'm not happy for these people, but the post where they'll put like, 30 years or 20 years, and I'm happy about them. I am, and I'm not trying to take away from them, but at the same time, when you're in that other situation, sometimes it's hard when you're like, oh, it's been 6 months, like I felt as if I was failing or not doing what I needed to. And also I can tell you that there are some, I don't know a better word, clergy, or people that will tell you have to do whatever you need to do to keep that marriage working. And I'm going to say BS. No, your life is the most valuable thing. That is not true. So anyways, sorry.
Yeah, no,
we
good.
really didn't start the podcast to talk about that, but
no, but I mean, like, I feel like it's good. That's why I don't like to prep too much with my podcast, because it's like wherever our journey is that needs to be talked about, we'll just.
I love that.
But no, I feel like that. You are. Yeah, because, just with anything too as well, society sometimes tells us it needs to be this way or that way. And, it is like that. It's been pushed upon traditionally that, like, you have to make your marriage work. And that can be a, touch and go subject too as well. Again, it depends what your experience is in going through that too as well. But yeah, I can imagine if you're being told that you have to live a certain way and your relationship has to be a certain way, and, you're failing if your marriage fails, like, that's such BS. Like you said, even it's just like, no, sometimes people are two different things. There's harm, then no, we're not going to try to make that work, type thing. And it's just, again, it just depends what's going on in everybody's their own journey. It's like,
right.
You can't just put everybody in the same bubble and say, this is how it is, everybody, this is your rule book or whatever. Like, no, that's not even, as we've known, like I'm sure as an educator from pre-K to, like even beyond, college and things like that. It's like, again, it's you go to school, you graduate, then you get your degree, you go to, your work, and then you get married, you get a house, and we know now that it's not like, that might've been the traditional way, but that's not like where it's at nowadays. People are learning to see what works for them, even in relationships.
I'm so happy about that change. It's great.
Yeah. It's crazy how that changed, because I was so ingrained with that I was just like, this is how it's supposed to be, and then you wonder why you may not be happy in certain parts of your life, So anyways, that's my own little rant session of my own healing too as well. But yeah. So I guess let's further talk about your spiritual relationship coaching and everything like that. So where would you say most of your clients or whoever comes up to you, where maybe they are with their headspace, like thought processes or how they're feeling, or maybe some common traits where, you see a common thing that maybe comes through, just so people can see if like, hey, do I fit that? Even though everybody's different,
Right. No, yes, I get that. And then Ilona, are we going to talk? And I'm so sorry, like I'm breaking protocol, because just so I don't mix it in, like on why somebody would get a coach.
Yeah, we can go into that too as well.
Kind of mix it in with this.
Yes,
would that,
yeah.
would that be okay?
Yeah, nope. I feel like that is perfect. It kind of coincides with each other of like,
and it's kind of
what traits, and then obviously they would seek you for help.
Yeah. Why? Because I just want to say, because we have been talking about like MST and domestic violence and alcoholism, is that just to really quickly, like I just have this duty to say that there are so many sites out there. There's Al-Anon, there are places for survivors of domestic abuse, and there is also MST links, very easy, just a Google search to get help. So make sure that if these apply to you, that you search out those areas. And if not, I will send Ilona a little sheet that I have that contains all the information, if that's okay with you. So if somebody contacts you and needs those sources, they're all free sources out there available to help people. I'd just like to say that first. And also that being a coach does not take the place of therapy. So I have a therapist and I even have a coach because they're two different, and you get two different things with them. So I just feel like I want to preface that right away, so that sometimes people will kind of be like, oh, what kind of psychologist are you? So I just want that. So now their headspace can be clear. Everybody has the help that they need. Headspace is clear. And now we can, kind of like go forward into it. And so the kind of people that are usually coming to me are definitely single women, usually mostly empathic women. So if you're not familiar with that term, it's women who just carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, so to speak. They pick up other people's energy. They're always carrying it around. These people are usually easily taken advantage of, very much people-pleasing type people. So you're going to fall into one of those categories, if not both or all, or in those lines. Usually it's the same type of, the women are stuck in what I call a cycle or a pattern where they're choosing that same type of partner, but just in a different avatar, right? So it's like he looks different, but actually is the same traits, and so you're finding these same traits over and over, and you're wanting to like, hey, why am I tending to go after this type of person? Maybe it's sometimes it can be the men who really prey on low self-esteem women, things in that nature. And these women are strong. Like, don't get me wrong, there is nothing weak about these women. I work with some of the most fierce, strong women, but they have been hurt, and there is emotional scars that are needing healing. And once they are able to do that and to move forward, they shine brightly like the queens that they always were. And it's just a beautiful transformation. And so, me being a spiritual coach, of course, I'm going to be using that spiritual energy. I'm going to be feeling where it's at in their body that they're carrying this trauma. We work through trauma. And trauma it doesn't have to be MST. It doesn't have to be domestic violence, excuse me. Trauma is up to the individual and how they perceived or how something took for them. And so I just want to clarify that you don't have to be in a massive car wreck to have trauma. Right. And I know you know this, Ilona, but just and you can pipe in if you have something to say about that.
No, for sure. Cause I feel like sometimes people think when they think of trauma, again, maybe it's just that whole like putting a label on it, they're just like, oh, I haven't been in trauma. Like I haven't been in a car crash. I haven't been in an abusive relationship. I haven't X, Y, and Z, whatever the case may be.
Yes.
So that is definitely good for you to say that too as well. Cause I think that it's something like you would think about, but it doesn't really click. And for me too as well, I'm just like, yes, I believe that too. Cause it's like whatever you perceive trauma as, something that has put an imprint on you and, things like that, where you're just like, that didn't sit right with me. It's something that you probably keep thinking about, or, like whatever the case may be, or gets you in that cycle, like you had said before too, as well. It's like that, like people talk about like, what is wrong with me, type thing. It's not necessarily what's wrong with you. It's, like what, I don't know how to better explain it. You probably can better with a relationship coach, but like, it's just like, creates those cycles. It's that familiarity that's drawing you towards, a certain situation, person, or things like that. You're just like, you think you like those traits, but again, maybe it's just like you're not exposed to other things too as well, that you're like, this is normal. Like this is whatever.
And we usually, and women like us, I'm one of these women. I was able to change my pattern, rewire myself and understand these things. But so we're very, very trusting, very forgiving, like to a fault forgiving, right? And so you will forgive and forgive and forgive when you should not. And so your boundaries get erased. And so it's exactly what you said about that familiarity and what feels good. But it's also because we are so forgiving, and also because we believe that everybody deserves a second chance and a third chance and a 1200th chance and a fifth, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying people don't deserve chances, but you have to understand in the context of what you and I are talking about today. I am talking about women who are just giving way too many chances and are way too many who are too forgiving, because they always can see that silver lining and this goal for somebody else, and we just can't want it enough for other people. And so these are just amazing self-loving women. And like I said, these are strong women, because they are carrying not just their weight and their heavy hearts, they're carrying the weight of that problem with them. A lot of them are not able to reach their jobs, like the goal of their business dreams, and because they have this holding them back. And they are successful in whatever ways they can be in spite of all this. So I never want to give the idea that these are weak women, because let me tell you, these are fierce women. These are strong women. And I love that they choose me to help them. And why would they get a coach if they can get a therapist? Well, I always recommend therapy, always. But there are some people who just like, therapy is not for me. I tried it. That does not work for me. Okay. There's that side of the realm, right? There's those people right there. And they're like, and I'm like, okay, then the coach, they're more comfortable having a coach. And I'm fine with that, right? And if time goes on and I need to say, hey, I think you might, you need to go, then I would do that. Another reason why people get a coach is in line with working with a therapist. So we kind of have different avenues that we do as a spiritual coach versus just in your therapy sessions. And so I'm there to help make the sound decisions, where the therapist is like, what do you think? And they have their place, and I am not putting them down. I'm going to spiritually lead them. I'm going to do those things, help clarify those goals, keep focused on that spiritual vision, and, achieve that balanced life, and, how to take time for yourself. And, we're going to eliminate the energy and those those drainings in your life. And, pretty soon you're going to have more time, more energy, and attracting healthier relationships.
Yeah. No, I love that. And yeah, it's good to clarify again, we're not, substituting any of this for medical or therapy or anything like that. Again, this is just another tool, another avenue, as we have talked about, again, pair it up with, or again, maybe you're just like, I tried it out and it's not for me, and you're trying to look for another avenue to help out. These are great resources, and she's a great resource too, as well. Cause I know you are a fierce woman. Like I said, for one, again, you being in your bunker doing yoga, I was like, wow, she's okay. She is like amazing. Like, what? I'm just here at home with just getting online, and she's overseas doing this yoga session. Like, that's so awesome. But anyways, but I can see you're speaking to me too, because like I have those traits too as well. It's like, I'm very empathetic, sympathetic, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm very forgiving too as well. So it's nice to, for you to talk about just having boundaries too as well. And would you say, with a spiritual relationship coach, is that just like within couples too as well? Or like what, I guess some people might be like, so what does classify as a relationship with your, like, is that a criteria for them to like meet with you?
So, relationship covers like a broad spectrum. It does. It can be relationships with your mom. It can be, with a parent. It can be with your children. Any type of relationships, even in a marriage. It doesn't mean your marriage is failing. I can tell you that before going to Afghanistan and being separated from my husband, him and I went to counseling, just no problems, right? Because we have that stigma. And it wasn't that. It was just to make sure that the separation and to prepare us for what was going to happen. We knew as military people, but it also helped us to broaden our communication and to help, like, when somebody's having a bad day. If you're gone for a year, believe me, one of you guys are going to have a bad day. All right. And so, anyways, I bring that all in. And the same thing is with me. I help all types of relationship. I just specialize helping women who are looking for, that's just my genius zone. That's where I can, yes, it doesn't mean that I suck at the other ones. Because I feel like I've had a great success and my clients have had good success in that area as well. It's just that this is where I'm so passionate about. But everybody can always benefit from relationships. You have relationships with your work. Where does it end, right? We have a relationship with the way we feel about money. We have a relationship with our health. And I love your whole podcast and bringing everything together with the holistic approach. And I am so in line with that. That is exactly where it's at. So you have a relationship with a holistic approach. So relationships are not just limited to your sexual partner.
Yeah. No, and I agree with all that too as well. Just with listeners out there, I just want to see help explain to them too as well. Seek out and reach out. And anytime, I'm sure anybody out here who's listening to this podcast can reach out to you, and you can always decide there, are we a good pair or not, things like that, or even just giving other resources hey, this might help out more in this avenue, or the case may be. But I think anybody who works with you, again, with your energy and just I talked about, just with our growth that we've been through too as well, just in a short amount of time that we've known each other, it's wow, I didn't know things about you, and I'm sure you didn't know things about me. And
we're learning. And what you said is so true. I always set up a little quick connect call just so they can meet and we can feel each other's energy, right? And sometimes I'm not vibing. This is not right. And so and I will let them know and point them to different directions, and that's up to them, to do that. Or sometimes they're just hey, you are not the one for me. And I get that. I'll tell you something funny I've always said is I heard this a long time ago, and I love ketchup. Do you like ketchup? Seriously, do you like ketchup?
Like the sauce ketchup?
Yeah, ketchup. Let me tell you, I eat ketchup on fish. I eat ketchup on my meats. I eat ketchup even on my mashed potatoes and my corn. I love ketchup. If you can have ketchup slapped on it, I'm gonna do it. Okay. But not everybody likes ketchup. right? And I get
Right.
that. It doesn't mean that I can't like them. It doesn't mean that I can't hang out with them. I'm not going to be like, oh, if you don't like ketchup, you can't sit at my table. Like, no, right? It's not like that. But I feel like that's me. I am kind of like ketchup, right? Some people are going to absolutely love me and want to like, just like cling to me and things like that. And then other people are like, I had enough of ketchup. And so I'm okay, I'm okay with that. And so I think that's really good, is to connect and see where you're at with that energy and connection. So
No, that I honestly have not heard it talked about in that aspect, but I feel like that makes you authentic and what makes you, it's like, like I can relate, but yeah, I'm not really like a ketchup person, like maybe ranch, but not even to that extent. So I definitely, I get what you're saying though. And that is nice because again, you want the best for both of you. Like if somebody's not really vibing with you, then it's hard to give them their full, even for them, vice versa, whatever the case
won't work.
Like
You experience that in your yoga. If somebody comes in and they don't want to be there, but somebody else drug them in, the experience that they get in that yoga practice is not as much as if they're open-minded and they're ready, right? I'm not saying they're not going to grab anything out of it, but it's not the same. And that's the same thing with my coaching, is that it's what they bring to the table, right, is what I have to work with. And if it's not going to, if they're unable to do the work, because this is not I don't have it manifested enough. Maybe one day I'll get back on your podcast and be like, man, I got it all wrapped up in this little bag, but I don't. And it takes work. It is work that people have to put into themselves. And I just give them the tools that are successful, and I am there to support them and hold their hair back on those bad days if they need to cry it out, but it does take work. This is not just a magic potion. Not yet.
Right. I'm sure when you get that, you'll be, people will be like hotcakes, like
we all want that.
Oh, right. Yeah, for sure. And that's so true. Like with any type of healing journey in general, again, you have to be to that place where you're open-minded, where you're just like, either you're sick and tired of being sick or tired, as what the cliche is, or you're just like, I just need to do something differently, and I feel like that's where you get the most. And it's just so interesting because, like, again, on our journeys and things like that, things I can speak of, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I finally have gotten to a point where I'm just like, okay, I don't have to think that way anymore, just because that was ingrained in me. Like
those limiting beliefs.
Exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm. And again, that can be with your relationship, with yourself, with, your job, whatever your money, how much money you can make, like so mind blowing with all these things. Like, and that's why I love doing my podcast and talking to people in a holistic way. Cause I feel like a holistic isn't really talked about as much. It is, I feel like probably within like some years now, it's more available, but even to an extent, I feel like there's not as much shine on it as, with the traditional kind of stuff and whatnot.
I agree. And, I told you that I have these, I have a 5-work framework that I am enrolling clients in. And in that framework, we use yoga because you need that movement. And I know that you can speak all about that and really understand that. But, for people listening in, our bodies need to move. They need to release. They need to, really experience it. And I am certified in that Yin yoga. I had talked to you about that and love that. And so use that a lot in that, in those modules. And it's like, if they want to put in that work, if they want to do it, that's there for as well as that mindset work. We do shadow work. We do those limiting beliefs that you're talking about. And it's really amazing to watch the transformations. It is so beautiful. And I know you see a glimpse of it in your studio. You see those ones that are having these just transformations. Like you see that butterfly emerge, and it's just, I am so happy for them when that happens, right? And happiness is contagious. You cannot help but feel happiness when somebody else is feeling happiness. And so I feel like I'm getting and learning from my clients at the same time. And it's very much an energy exchange. And during the course of the 5 weeks, I really get to know them. And so far, they've all stayed connected, and some have gone on to do other things with me. And it's just, that's a relationship in itself, and just so beautiful. And I have one client that's recently going through, and I'm not saying her name. She doesn't mind if I talk about basic, just basic things.
Yeah.
And she was like, I know this is for my relationships, but I've been using this at work. And I said, oh, tell me, and everything. And she was like, I just want you to know that as a real estate agent, I just closed the deal, and I'm ending up the year. And I don't remember what this was in December. I don't know what the real estate terminology is. So hopefully a listener out there hears it. But when you're the best real estate, if you're in your building, whatever it is,
or area or something.
Yes. And she was just so excited. She was like, I've never hit that. I'm the top producer or something like that. And she was like, I was using all of these strategies and everything that you taught me. So what you do is more than just relationships. And I was just like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, my darling. Now you go save the world.
Right. And I feel like that it just starts with that too. It's like starting with you and whatever your relationship you identify as. Again, it can be yourself or within a relationship. And like you said, it can be money, it can be your job or anything like that. Like once you start really like, okay, I'm going to start on the healing process of myself. And especially like if you want to take it the spiritual route too as well, like it just warms my heart too. Like I'm just like, this is what I've been waiting for to happen for you, but it can't happen unless they want it to happen,
Yes,
and it's just like, it's like you said, it's just such a beautiful experience when they're just like, you can tell by how they carry themselves, how they talk, whatever the case may be, their comments to you, things like that. You're just like, you're in a good place now, like a good headspace,
Yes. Yes. It's beautiful. And to know that like I was able to do that. And I talk to the universe all the time, and like, allow me to be the channel. Just allow me to be the channel. This doesn't come from me. I am just an open receptacle, wanting to help, show me how, give me, and it's just beautiful the way that the universe responds to us through the law of attraction. And so if someone came to me and they were like, I need you to help me, but I don't want to do that spiritual stuff, I would have to like send them to someone else. And because I can't separate that. That's just not going to be in my practice and what I am able to do. But that doesn't mean I can't get help from someone else. And even if you have somebody like that wants to reach out to me and me put them into different, in the network of coaches that I know, I would definitely be able to do that, because I cannot change what I was called and destined to do and to share. I just can't do it. Wouldn't be authentic, and it would be completely made up. I would just be pulling it out of my tushy area because I don't know. I don't know how to do it that way. I just truly don't. I mean, it is all about meditation, manifestation, understanding the universal law of attraction and the universal laws. And so I know it's just so beautiful. I really honestly could talk to you like hours and hours about each of those and the impact on it. But
no, literally, if we could just have like a 30-hour rant session of that, I could talk your ear off and all these listeners' ears off too. Cause yes, like it just again, things that I did not know. It's just so like mind blowing that I'm just like, what? Like, again, what you think is what you are, or things around you and things like that.
100%.
And so like, it's so powerful how your mind is. And I didn't know this until I was an adult. Well, you do sports and you're like, I can do it, those kind of things, or the past and the past. But then beyond that, like actual real life situations, whatever the case may be, you don't really think you can apply it to that because that's what you did when you were a kid, or maybe you didn't, depending, but for the most part,
that would just,
yeah. And so like, going as an adult now, I'm just like, oh my gosh, how it applies to everything. Like if I'm thinking I can't make money, like I'm never going to afford this or that, then you're most likely probably won't, because you already defeated yourself or whatever the case may be in any situation. So I'm definitely all for that too, as well.
Yeah. Going back to that energy just real quickly on our thoughts. I can tell you, thoughts are energy. It's what we do with it that puts the energy into motion. So we are already producing energetic thoughts, and mostly, our thoughts. I believe it's, yes, 80% of our thoughts are negative, and that is like astounding, right? 80% of those are negative thoughts, and 90% of the 80 are on repeat in our mind, constant, just on a loop. We are constantly telling ourselves that. And that's, coming into play with just like, you're driving down, you're going to have other thoughts that are coming into it, but think about those random thoughts that are going through. So I always am saying, and I just posted about this recently, was, be careful what you think, because you are the one listening. Right? You're the one that's listening. You are hearing these thoughts over and over, and you will believe them, and they are energy, and you are pulling those into you. And a lot of times people will say, well, I didn't ask for that. And I'm like, you did. The universe is not the universal law of energy to understand the do's or the do nots. That's not where it's where you put your mind to it. You send out that energetic vibe. That's what the energy hears. So if you're like, I'm not going to get that job. I'm not going to get that job. I just know I'm not going to get that job. And that's what you're putting out to the universe. That's what the universe hears, and that's what's going to happen. And I know that's probably a bad one, because I was going with, like, whenever you're saying you don't want something, I don't want to catch that cold, and there's a lot of controversy here. Okay, people aren't going to like what I'm saying, and I understand that. And in some points, it's going to like, I'm not sure about that, but I am telling you that within your own limitations and within your own what you can control, there are things that are happening to you that you have manifested that you did not want, simply because you had an emotion tied with it, and you put that energy out into the universe. And so, yeah, it's just that's in our thoughts right there, just in our thoughts.
Yeah, no. Like I said, being on my own journey, I'm learning so much things too as well. Cause yeah, you don't think it's that, your thoughts that are just like, who am I to, things like that. And like you said, like maybe it's that job, you're just like, maybe your nerves are just like, I'm not going to get this job. I'm not going to get this job. And it is hard, because you are putting that out to the universe, and the universe is like, okay, I will reward you with not getting the job. And then you wonder why, like, well, why didn't I get the job? It's like, you put that out there, like, and I'm guilty of that too. Certain things I get nervous about, and I'm just like, myself is like, nope, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then it doesn't happen. I'm like, okay. Yeah. It's probably because I said it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know if you knew that I was in Florida, and I saw my first gator, right? That was an experience. And so, well, we were there because we are getting close to close on our house that we had built there in Florida. But in the meantime, there was some things that happened with the universe. And so we are actually building a house here as well. So we will be, what do they call us? Snowbirding for a while. Until
I am trying to be that. I've been speaking that into the universe. Snowbird.
Keep going, let me tell you, because my husband wanted to go on an Alaskan cruise. Book done, in the books, honey. We're about to go on our Alaskan cruise. Anything that you want, there is an abundance in the universe, and it can supply it to you. And I'll send y'all pictures. At first I thought, like, oh, you can't. My mindset around money was like, don't talk about that. Like, you cannot talk about that. But guess what? I want to talk about it. I want people to know where I came from and know that they have it too. And I was give them the secrets. Like, I've already done it on this podcast. You guys go do it. Go manifest all your dreams.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm getting there.
Thank you so much. I just really have enjoyed this talk.
Yes, me too. And this is why, because we connect so well, and we've, we're learning things on the go and all that kind of stuff, and just trying to bring knowledge to other people too as well. And again, not sugarcoating, like you said, it's very hard. I cry a lot at times, but it's, again, just being aware and knowing that you're stronger than you think, you'll come out even better, and that you can help other people too as well, who may be in a similar boat or maybe something completely different, but you can just, connect them to who they need to be connected to. So
exactly. Yes, exactly. I don't know if you felt that energy shift that had just happened. Did you? Did you feel
Of me tearing up.
Well, I was talking about yesterday's energy shift, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
love your sweetness.
I'm like, are you talking about the silence that just happened a second ago?
No, the two, all the twos.
Yes. With it being Tuesday on the second day of the week, all the twos. Mhm.
Yeah, no, awesome.
Yeah. It's
It was
okay.
huge, huge. We won't experience that again for another 400 years.
That's so crazy.
It
And
is.
yeah, like literally yesterday, I was like, I don't know, I was feeling like Superwoman yesterday. I was like, yeah, I've got all this energy. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do that done. And I got lots of things done for the most part. I was like super impressed with myself.
Powerful.
So, yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So as we're wrapping up here, is there anything or suggestions you have for anybody out there? Also, where can they find you for social media and things like that? Again, I will be dropping that in the show notes too as well. So if people are like, wait, I didn't get what that was, as you're speaking it, I can do that too as well. So
Oh yes, would you? Because you know that when I tell them this name, it's going to be like, what? Yeah, absolutely. So people can find me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under Holistic Immersion. And I also have a website, holisticimmersion.com. And so they can definitely reach out to me there and send me a message. And if they need any other further guidance, or send me a DM if they need clarification or anything, I'm always happy to chat and reach out with people. And the best thing that I could ever tell someone is like the cheesiest of all, right? And it's just never give up. Look at yourself every day in that mirror and tell yourself, I love you. Out of 8 billion, I would choose you again and again. And I do that every morning. And I encourage each of you listeners to try it, looking at yourself dead in the eyes and tell yourself that you love yourself and that you would choose you again and again each time, and see how that changes your life.
yes, I love that. It's so powerful too as well, because really it starts with you. You got to love yourself first, which is one of the hardest things I feel like.
Yeah. Oh, yes, because, again, that's society's belief on like, if you do that, you're conceited, or if you do this, right, we have to be more humble and things like that. And while I do agree with those things to a certain point, we have beat that into the ground, like beat people over the head with it. So we do need to love ourselves.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for being on my podcast. Like you said, it's been quite a pleasure to connect with you finally on this podcast and share your story too as well, and where you're at now. So
thank you. Love and energy to you and to your fans. Like,
thank
I
you.
just love it.
You too as well.
Am I awake or am I dreaming? So far gone, I won't